Stay awake. JustProfessor, here's what nobody tells you about your brain. It's constantly lying to you. Right now, you're making decisions based on patterns that don't actually exist, and you don't even know it's happening. Every single day, you look at information, connect the dots, and feel absolutely certain about your conclusions. Maybe you're picking stocks, choosing who to hire, or even deciding which route to take to work. And here's the scary part. The more information you have, the more confident you feel. But that confidence, it's completely fake. This is called the illusion of validity, and it's one of the most dangerous tricks your mind plays on you. Let me show you exactly how this works and why it's probably affecting every major decision you make. Think about the last time you felt really sure about something. Maybe you were certain a job candidate would be perfect because they reminded you of someone successful. Or you were convinced your friend's relationship would fail because you saw all the signs. That feeling of certainty, that's the illusion talking. Here's what makes this so dangerous. Your brain is hardwired to find patterns. It's a survival mechanism that kept our ancestors alive. See rustling grass twice in the same spot? Better assume there's a predator. This worked great for avoiding lions, but it's terrible for making modern decisions. The illusion of validity happens when you spot a pattern in random or complex information and then feel confident that this pattern will continue into the future. Your brain takes bits of data, connects them together, and creates a story that feels true. The problem is that just because something feels true doesn't mean it actually is true. Let me give you a real example. Imagine you're interviewing candidates for a job. You notice that the last 3 successful employees all had firm handshakes and made consistent eye contact. Now you meet a new candidate who also has a firm handshake and good eye contact. Your brain immediately lights up and says, "This person will be great." You feel confident, you feel certain. But here's the reality. Handshakes and eye contact have almost nothing to do with job performance. You've created a pattern where none exists, and you're basing a real decision on it. So where does this illusion come from? It starts with something psychologists call coherence. Your brain loves stories that make sense. When you look at any set of information, your mind automatically tries to create a narrative that ties everything together. And once that narrative exists, it feels true. The more detailed the story, the more real it seems. Let's say you're looking at someone's social media profile before a first date. You see they post about hiking, they have pictures with dogs, and they share quotes about adventure. Your brain creates a story. This person is outdoorsy, loves animals, and is spontaneous. You feel like you know them. You feel confident about what the date will be like. But you're basing this on maybe 10 posts out of their entire life. You're filling in massive gaps with assumptions, but it doesn't feel like you're assuming anything. It feels like you're seeing the truth. This gets even more dangerous when we add in something called confirmation bias. Once you've created your pattern, your brain starts looking for evidence that supports it and ignoring evidence that contradicts it. Going back to the dating example, if the person mentions they went camping once, you think, "See, I was right, they're outdoorsy." But if they mention they haven't been hiking in 2 years, your brain dismisses it or finds a reason why it doesn't count. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Studies show that the illusion of validity actually gets stronger when you have more information. You'd think more data would make you more accurate, right? Wrong. More information just gives your brain more material to create a convincing story. It's like giving someone more puzzle pieces, except the pieces are from different puzzles, but they're so confident they make them fit anyway. Think about stock market experts. These are people who spend all day looking at charts, reading reports, and analyzing data. They have access to more information than the average person could ever process. And you know what studies show? Their predictions are barely better than random chance. Some studies even show they're worse than random. But ask these experts how confident they are, and they'll tell you they're very confident. They have all this information, they see all these patterns, and they feel certain about their predictions. The illusion is complete. This happens in medicine, too. Doctors sometimes become more confident in their diagnoses when they have more patient information, even when that extra information isn't actually relevant to the diagnosis. A doctor might feel more certain about what's wrong with you because they know you have 3 kids and work in accounting, even though those facts have nothing to do with your symptoms. The additional information creates a more complete story in their mind, which increases their confidence, but it doesn't increase their accuracy. The really tricky part about the illusion of validity is that it's self-reinforcing. When you make a prediction based on a pattern you've spotted, and then it comes true, you remember it. Your brain files it away as proof that your pattern recognition works. But when your prediction is wrong, you tend to forget it, or find reasons why it doesn't count. Oh, that was an unusual situation, or there were factors I couldn't have known about. This means your brain is constantly collecting evidence that you're good at spotting patterns, even when you're not. Let's talk about another place this shows up: personality tests and astrology. When you read your horoscope or personality profile, it often feels incredibly accurate. You think, wow, this describes me perfectly. But here's what's actually happening. The description is usually vague enough to apply to almost anyone, but your brain takes that vague information and fills in specific details from your own life. You create the pattern, and then you validate it with your own experiences. The profile didn't reveal anything about you. You revealed things about yourself and attributed them to the profile. Here's a practical example that might hit close to home. Let's say you're trying to improve your productivity. You notice that on days when you wake up early and drink coffee, you seem to get more done. You start to feel confident about this pattern. I'm definitely more productive when I wake up early and have coffee, you think. So you stick to this routine religiously. But here's what you're missing. Maybe you're more productive on those days because you went to bed earlier, or because those are days when you have fewer meetings, or because you're generally more motivated. The early wake-up and coffee might have nothing to do with it. But because you've identified that pattern, you believe in it, and you've created your own illusion of validity. The scary thing is that this illusion feels good. Feeling confident feels better than feeling uncertain. Seeing patterns feels better than seeing chaos. Having explanations feels better than admitting we don't know. So our brains keep doing it, even when it leads us astray. Here's the moment that should change how you think. The feeling of certainty has nothing to do with actually being right. Let me say that again. The feeling of certainty has nothing to do with actually being right. You can feel 100% sure about something and be completely wrong. Your confidence level is not a reliable indicator of accuracy. This is the core insight that breaks the illusion. Every time you feel absolutely certain about a prediction or judgment, that feeling is not coming from the accuracy of your conclusion. It's coming from how well your brain has constructed a story from the available information. The better the story, the more confident you feel. But a good story is not the same as a true story. The most successful decision-makers understand this. They don't trust their feelings of certainty. They look for actual evidence. They test their assumptions. They actively search for information that might prove them wrong instead of just looking for information that confirms what they already believe. So, what do we do about this? First, recognize that this is happening. Every time you feel really confident about something, especially when you're making predictions about the future or judgments about people, pause. Ask yourself what pattern you're seeing and whether that pattern is actually reliable. Look at your track record. Have you been right about these kinds of things before? Or do you just remember the times you were right? Second, actively look for ways you might be wrong. This feels uncomfortable because it goes against what your brain wants to do, but it's essential. If you think someone will be a great employee, spend some time thinking about why they might not be. If you're certain an investment will pay off, list the reasons it might fail. Third, remember that more information doesn't always mean better decisions. Sometimes less is more. Focus on the information that actually matters instead of letting your brain build elaborate stories from irrelevant details. The illusion of validity. is one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. You'll start noticing it everywhere. In your own thinking, in the news, in expert predictions, in everyday conversations. And that awareness is the first step to making better decisions. You can't eliminate the illusion completely, but you can learn to recognize it and adjust for it. If this opened your eyes, hit subscribe for more videos on how your brain tricks you.